I've always tried to make designs to save the world, right? Or to improve the world. And maybe now I'm just trying to save myself, right? And hopefully a little bit save the world, but God knows.
Bienvenidos a Volver al Futuro Podcast, donde platicamos con las mentes que nos impulsan a crear el nuevo paradigma de salud y bienestar, conducido por Víctor Sadia.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today we have Daan Roosegaarde. Daan Roosegaarde is an internationally acclaimed artist, architect, and innovator whose works include SMOG FREE PROJECT, the world's first outdoor air purifier which turns smog into jewels, Smart Highway, which are roads that charge throughout the day and glow at night, and Seeing Stars, a project that switches off all the city lights to bring back the stars. We first have to imagine a better future, and only then we can create it. In this episode, we talk about art and beauty as a strategy to help people accept and generate change, the role of the artist as leader in addressing complex problems, and as enabler to transcend our linear way of thinking. We also talk about artificial intelligence and the evolving significance we give to light and darkness. The future of design must understand that we are not doing human-centered design, but life-centered design, which will keep reevaluating man's hierarchy in the intricate web of life. Daan does not believe in utopia, but in protopia, which means improving the world one prototype at a time. Daan, thank you so much for being here.
Hey.
So I think that to live as an artist is a way of being in the world, a way of perceiving, a practice of paying attention. And what you make doesn't have to be witnessed, recorded, sold, or even encased in glass for it to be a work of art. You said to me a few weeks ago, it's a responsibility to make beautiful things, even if nobody cares. What's this philosophy about?
Oh, actually, it was a sort of a street art in the streets of Bali. I want to make beautiful things, even if nobody cares. And certain types of slogans started to pop up through construction sites as they were reconstruction and rebuilding the old island of Bali. And actually, the person who wrote it became one of my best friends. I'm actually in his house right now. As we're designing and building the world's largest firefly garden here in Indonesia. So yeah, I think, you know, like you don't own an idea, but you surrender to an idea, right? And then I think a good idea inspires and is beautiful, but I think a great idea brings you to a place you've never been before. And so you shouldn't care because you don't know where you're going yet. and of course you care, but also you don't, right? So it's this sort of thin balance between hearing everything, ignoring everything, and finding your own way. I mean, that defines the quality, and that defines the magic of a project. If I ignore everything, I go a little bit too much solo. But if I listen to everything, I will never be able to realize it. Imagine, like, I love the example of, imagine you and I were movie makers 20 years ago. And we know we're going to do this budget and it's going to be like millions and millions of US dollars, right? And we have to pitch it. And so we're going to say, okay, dear client, we're going to make a movie about a rat in a kitchen in Paris that talks and can cook. Right? Sounds like a horrible idea, right? It became a box office hit with the Pixar. Or no, let's make a movie about a fish. You know? Oh no, I got one. Let's make a movie about a really old guy with balloons up. And so, and so, it's really hard to figure out in the beginning if something is a good idea. Basically, you don't know. You can just only feed it with your love, time, money, and energy. And so that's what I mean. Like I want to make beautiful things, even if nobody cares. Because in the beginning, nobody cares. But in the end, hopefully they do. Yeah.
Yeah, and in a sense, it's also a matter of taking care of yourself because the self-doubt will always be there. So saying nobody cares, it's also a matter of I'll do it because I just want it to be something that exists in this world. And not
I mean,
yeah.
you have to be connected to your core. You have to have your inner compass. I mean, that's really important. And through the years, through the ups and downs and the failures, you learn that. Trusting your intuition. Intuition is the highest form of intelligence. I mean, I just closed the session with Midjourney, text to image, generating the most amazing artist impressions in literally 30 seconds. I don't even have time to take my sip of a coffee anymore. It's just bam, 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 bam. I'm producing 800 images per day, which are amazing. I'm sending them to my printer. He prints it out for €3, framed in a black, and I hang it on my wall here. Like if I would have told you that a year ago, that would be the beginning of a really beautiful sci-fi movie, right? But it's reality. But intuition is something that the computers and the robots cannot copy yet. I'm always going to end the word yet when it comes to robots, because you really never know. And so you gotta trust yourself. You gotta feed yourself. When I do something, I always have this angel on my shoulder, which says, "Wow, that would be really cool." Curiosity. But there's also a little devil on the other shoulder saying, what if you're wrong? What if it's going to fail? What if they're going to make fun of you? And I think they will always be there. The only thing you can do as a human being is decide on which one do I base my decisions, right? Fear or curiosity. That's the choice you can make. So that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
I'm writing a book on cancer now. And basically what I'm seeing is that the process of healing follows a similar path, where you have to surrender to the idea of being driven by curiosity rather by fear, and also by letting go of the outcome of all the things you're doing to trying to get healthy, and also surrender to the idea that it will be as it will be. And that surrender is also a path of healing. Do you see this parallel also, or I'm crazy?
Well, no, I mean, it's it's a super intense topic, but the way you describe it, absolutely. And I think you create there's always a we and a me. You do it for yourself to keep yourself sane, because I don't understand the world. It's very confusing. Rising sea level, air pollution, COVID. Like it's a very confusing world. So you create to make sense of the world, to keep you sane. But at the same time, there's also a we, because you do it because you think society can improve from it, or other people can be inspired by it. Right? So if it's only me, it gets very, narcissistic and not so interesting. But if it's only we just have yellow notes on walls, and like nothing is going to happen, or the good ideas die very, very soon. So finding the balance between the me and the we is important. But so yeah, maybe it's about healing or sort of revealing who you are, or the inner power that you have. Absolutely.
Yeah, in a sense, also art creates this profound connection between the artist and the audience, and through that connection, they both can heal. So now that we're becoming more and more aware of the need of our planet to heal and our society to heal, we see that art, creativity, sustainability, even working towards peace are probably the same thing.
Yeah, and I think there's not a lack of money or technology in this world. There's a lack of imagination of how we want that better world to feel like, to look like, and that's, open a newspaper today. We don't talk about the future anymore, or it's sort of like a dystopia, like we're all going to flood, we're running out of energy, etc. It's very dystopia, and that's a problem, because if we cannot imagine that better future, we can also not create it, right? That's how it starts. You got to wonder, you got to think, you got to dream, you got to talk about it, you're gonna make a mistake, you prototype. And that's how you improve. And I think that's, for me, one of the biggest concerns right now, that we don't really talk about it anymore, like, or very abstract or very niche. And that's the moment the robots win, right? That's the moment when we literally just become robot food. That's concerning.
Yeah, and at the same time, it is, I think, one of the the possibilities of art is not only confronting and giving us good ideas to imagine a possible future, but also it widens the audience's reality, the public reality of what
Yeah,
can be possible. And
absolutely.
I sometimes think that building a product or designing whatever, rather than just the material and the functional end of that product or service, is the narrative that gets expanded in your user or your whatever.
Yeah, I mean that's the word sublime that started to pop up in art history not so long ago. So beauty, opens up. When we did Spark in Auckland just a couple of days ago, biodegradable fireworks, 20,000 people who come. You show the beauty of a sustainable world. You show, hey, we don't need traditional fireworks that makes all the dogs go crazy and increases air pollution 10 times. Hey, we can come together of all different types of people. So I'm really interested how we can use beauty as a strategy to help people to accept change. Because we all need to change, climate change, we need to change, but we don't want to change, right? It's sort of like, I don't know that like we'll let somebody else do that. And I get that, right? It can be frustrating or scary, but it's also fun and exciting. And for the record, we're all changing, right? Our body is changing, our lives are changing. So to sort of create an environment of beauty and openness, or when we've done waterlicht, a combination of LEDs and lenses which show the rising sea level. It's a little bit eerie, but at the same time also sort of it creates this dreamscape where together you experience that better future. It's very tactile, it's very physical, it's very emotional, and I think I'm a big my job, like what's your job? Like my job is to create this sort of dream experience where people feel connected with that better future, and that's really exciting. And we do that in public spaces. We do that, in complicated urban areas where we have to tape 3,000 windows downtown New York to get a black area to do our light artworks. But I love it. It feels very open.
Yeah, I think this is an important thing, that we have this belief that changing the world will have to entail a lot of struggle and sacrifice and letting go of a lot of the ways we've been so far, and it is so. But at the same time, as you say, beauty and joy and dance and art, we can enjoy the process of transforming the world for a better, sustainable planet. That's what I love your rule of the 80%. You say 80% bullshit, 20% beauty, or how do you deal with an everyday basis?
That's a good day. Yeah. Well, I mean, you need the bullshit to create the beauty. You need to sort of transform it. That's sort of part of it. And when you're doing something new, you're always an amateur trying to become an expert, right? So right now I think we found a way to make plants glow. And one of the dreams was always to make trees glow at night instead of traditional street lights, which are just burning the whole night when nobody's there. And it sort of originated from when we started to convince mayors all around the world to switch off all the lights, not just Earth Hour, but like really all the lights, and literally bring the stars back during a COVID time when everybody was sort of down and depressed, and standing in those highly urban densified streets, seeing parts of the Milky Way popping up, tens of thousands of people being outside, everybody came silent, like that was 12 months of work, and the mayor had to prove, tens of thousands of people, communication, please switch off your lights or your curtains, close it. So there was a lot of bullshit, I'm saying this with a smile, to get that beauty, but worth it. And I think it's also a word thing, like listen to the words that we use when we talk about the future. Carbon neutral, energy neutral, 5% less worse. Like imagine Victor, we're dating. I mean, for the record, we're not, right? But like imagine we're dating, everything, love of my life. it's the year 2023. This year, we're gonna do neutral, right? We're gonna be 5% less worth. I really sincerely hope you will dump me on the spot, you know? That's a bad relationship. Get out of there. But somehow this is how we do talk about our relationship with planet Earth, with Mother Nature, right? And that's sort of weird. I still don't really get that. And so yeah, we it's our job to create an inspiring and activating society, because eco-genocide is a real thing. The younger generation, I mean, we're getting oldies, Victor. Like we're 43. It's like, dude, we're already talking about other people like we're them, but we're not anymore. But the youth, which we were part of not that long ago, feels trapped, you know. And so yeah, it's our job to create inspiring experiences and ideas, to say, hey, we're not just part of the problem, we are part of the solution.
I love it. And in a sense, I think you said this before, that we're not designing anymore for people, but for being. How can we
Oh yeah,
understand this way of co-creating the future for being, and not for people, or for people-centered design?
well, I mean, I'm in Bali right now. You know, light is my language, right? I've used light always as a way to sort of communicate it, but I've never seen it as sort of as a decoration or a bling 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 LED wall somewhere consuming way too much electricity. And so the fireflies use light to communicate, right? To mate, to find each other. And 20 years ago, they were everywhere, right here. And now they're not. Because of light pollution, because of the pesticides and the toxins we put into our soil. And so one morning I woke up and I'm like, and let's bring them back, right? We got to bring them back. And so what does a firefly need? In a way, it sort of defines all our future values, which is clean air, clean water, clean energy, clean space. And so we started designing this ecosystem, like a sort of, you know, like a Ritz-Carlton 8-star environment for them, where they feel comfortable, where they start to reproduce. And so the eggs and the larvae. It's a tricky one because the larva and the egg is 9 to 16 months. Firefly life, 22 days. So it's like, oh, like so it's a numbers game. But I love them so much because they embody magic. I see them as guardians. You know, when we see them, we know the environment is good, it's safe for them and for us. And when they're not there, it's like, we got some work to do. So they're part of the cultural heritage of Indonesia, and they're just being wiped out like crazy. And so to sort of design that garden, in the beginning, the first sketches the designers made were had like benches and and I'm like, no, we're designing for them, not for us, you know. Take out the benches. I think so. It's really to sort of see the world through the eyes of a firefly. And daytime it will be butterfly, in the evening it will be firefly. We're talking about like tens of thousands of them, as part of an eco city called Nuanu project, 45 hectare. And it's so interesting. So I'm just there trying to figure out what these little diva creatures want. and it's so interesting. It's sort of like an actor, you know, getting into the role of a drug dealer or whatever. And it was the same, I think, when we started to do the Seeing Stars, trying to bring back stars into our daily life. I think it's very clear I didn't design those stars, right? They've been there for millions and millions of years. I would have loved to, but I didn't, right? But so what I can do is redesign our relationship with light, celebrate darkness, celebrate light, but also celebrate darkness, and see it as a language, and to sort of remove and therefore reveal. And you're right, that requires an attitude which is not about control. Like I like control. I'm a designer. I like control, but you're out of control. You're sort of in co-control. If I can quote Kevin Kelly. And I love that kind of thinking a lot. And maybe long story short, 500 years ago, we human beings thought we were the center of the universe, right? And we're very excited about that. And we like that idea a lot. And then three really smart guys, Galileo, Copernicus, and later Kepler came and said, no, we're living in a lie, right? The Earth is actually turning around the sun, 148 million kilometers away from us, more or less. And people at that time really didn't like that idea, right? Like Galileo was banned for life just because of an idea, right? And now we know that's sort of true, but we still, even today, even right now, call it sunset, sunrise, right? So like, it should be Earth set or right. I don't know the word yet. So, but it took us 500 years to sort of starting to digest the idea, and maybe we have to change our perspective, our perception again today. So we cannot control nature, but we have to learn from it. We have to live with it. And we have to find a sort of new harmony, and sort of bringing back the stars and learning and living with the fireflies or designing organic firework, right, which is inspired by those fireflies, is sort of part of that. Yeah, but it requires a different attitude than I did 10 years ago. Yeah, as a human being. Yeah, 10 years ago I said, nah, like, screw you, I'm gonna tell you what to do. And now I'm like, that's not working anymore. Yeah, so I also had to change my approach. Yeah. We're getting old, Victor. We're getting old. Eh?
We're getting old, and saying that we should be more humble. That we
that's
haven't
definitely
been.
no. Yeah, we're definitely getting old. Yeah, I'm just joking.
You know, in the medical health arena, it happens the same way, that we believe we can control nature, we can control the body, we can control biology, we can control disease, and we're just figuring it out that, you know, there's so many things happening at the same time which we don't even knew that happened, like the microbiome or all the things that are invisible to us, and we're now beginning to understand that we have to work with nature rather than against nature. And I guess it's the same in economics and politics and all this idea that we can control instead of just allow, co-create, surrender. And this perspective of space and time, it's so important for us to keep internalizing it. It will take centuries to keep doing it. We can't change a paradigm that has been evolving at least 2,000 years since you know, the classic philosophy where we separated man from matter and God from people and mind from body and all these things, and understanding that we are more than an interdependent entity, a complex thing.
Yeah, and it's, and you know, it's how you think about, like, a thought is a creation, right? So what you think when you eat or when you smoke, or, you know, like, you're programming your thoughts into your body. So and that's, no, it's like, no, like, smoking is bad, eating is good, you know, like, and yes, no, you know, like so they're I'm not claiming to be a medical expert at all, on the contrary, actually, but it's interesting how ideas and thinking shapes your reality, and filters it and moderates it. And so there, you know, like, it might be that we're missing things, right? We're not understanding things.
I think that
fascinates me.
You wanting to try to understand how fireflies see the world or need from the world, it's so important. And I sincerely hope that you don't expect to get a final answer, but it's always a question. That,
oh no, but there was a beautiful moment last week. We were out in the dark. I think we had around 120 of them in the forest right in front of us. And we're in the rice fields in the middle of the night, and they were, you know, doing their little thing, and I could see when they liked each other, because then they start to mimic the light. And it's so funny, because I took out my phone like this, like what I'm doing now, and I started to, like, to flash my flashlights, and instantly I got a reaction, and they started coming towards me. Of course, I had no idea what I was saying, because I don't speak fireflies
Yeah.
yet. But that was one of the most intimate interactions I've ever had with nature, and we were really maybe not communicating but interacting, and that was beautiful. So immediately my brain starts getting an overdrive and say, okay, if I can sort of analyze the wavelengths and the frequency and the spectrum, can I mimic that? You know, can I program light to sort of lure them to be a sort of super mom or like a super Madonna, and sort of, you know, like, can I make symphonies? Can I sort of move them around? And is that quantum bay for them, or would they be really excited? You know, and how and earth am I gonna define that one? You know, like, so it's funny, like from that intimate interaction, immediately you start to say, hey, this is a tool. I can play with this. I can design with this. Many questions, but I'm sure if we do this podcast in another 3 or 4 years, we'll be somewhere in the royal hall of blah 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 blah. China, I think most likely, and having this sort of beautiful firefly show that is, yeah, that's enhances well-being for people, and of course for them.
Yeah.
Nature.
I think that's
That's
beautiful.
how things start.
Yeah.
That's how things start. Yeah.
And how the project is bringing together the community, the government, other companies, the scientific community, the engineering and
Oh, yeah.
technology community, because that's one of the fun parts of it too. That also the way of interacting with all these players is also shifting because the project requires that.
Yeah. No, thanks for mentioning that. I mean, an idea is everything, but an idea is nothing, right? So it's just sort of, and you need to have the context where it's being fed and nurtured and being adopted. So yeah, these are large scale projects that we've done, you know, a team of designers, engineers, project managers, local community, especially when you work with nature, super important, because I can design the most beautiful thing, but if they just, you know, burn the rice fields 2 streets away, like all like nobody will learn anything, and all the work is ruined. It's always in close collaboration with university, because it's research. Students are involved, coming literally by every 2 or 3 days, making logs, analyzing. We did it with Seeing Stars. We did that with the Firefly project. We're doing that actually also with Spark, sort of trying to measure the benefits for the nature, and trying to compare that with measurements during traditional fireworks. So yeah, I mean, these are projects of society. You could. I mean, I don't like to define. I more like to explore. But you could tag it as a social design, or at least, you know, design that tries to engage rather than just show off.
Mm-hmm. You've been traveling all over the world and doing projects in America, in Australia, in Europe, and Asia. What are the cultural, political differences and opinions about, in general, for the general public towards sustainability? What are the main things that you find that there are different between different places?
Well, I mean, it's very personal and maybe a little bit generic, but what I notice is there's some places where I go to, and then I present this beautiful radical idea, and they ask me, are you sure you've done it before? Risk management, like Singapore is one of them. It's like, are you sure you've done it before? And I like Singapore, but it's really. And then there are other places where they say, are you sure this is the first time? Because they want to be the first. And it took me like 8 years to figure that out. And then I was telling the wrong story to the wrong people. And nobody teaches, like, no, there's no book telling you that, you know. If you go to school, nobody teaches you that. Are you crazy? So to sort of, what's the perception people live in, and what defines value, right? And I'm generalizing,
Sure.
because you know, Singapore is doing great stuff, and it's not that Middle East will say yes to everything. But if you want to generalize it, yeah, I think Europe is mute. America area is dead. Go Asia, go Middle East. There's definitely more curiosity and a vision I'm not saying it's the right one, or they're always, it's a good one. Who am I to judge that? But there's curiosity to invest in new ideas, and that's the most important thing.
Why do you think? What do you think that happens in America and in Europe regarding this eclectic and innovative and even risky?
Well, they want to be. They want to
endeavors?
be right. They want to be right. They think they're right, and that's like failure number one if you want to explore. Like I could have easily just, design and construct my smoke-free towers and sell them all over the world, and I would pay the rent. I would have my nice little life. That's fine. And I'm like, that's boring. Yeah, sure, we'll find people to help to upscale, but I want to try new things. And
Yeah, I was going to ask you
yeah,
about that. When did you
yeah,
decide?
I'm gonna F up, and but so being right sort of like yeah, freezes your brain, and the mind and the ego creates a frame, and it tells you this is reality, and that's of course not true. And then your soul and your heart is like, dude, are you crazy? There's so much more. And that's sort of the end of the struggle, right? Or at least that's how I experience it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to go to a place where people are curious, not scared. And I can have all the ideas in the world, but if I'm disconnected from that leadership, from that creative thinking, nothing is going to happen. So yeah, I'm part of that ecosystem. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that. How was it with you when you had this successful project, that the machines that cleaned air, and you could probably be living out of that and probably having an IPO in a public company out of it, and you decided to move forward with other projects that inspired you instead of just cashing out on something that already worked? How what's the relationship that you see there with money and career and innovation, but also keep this creative spirit alive every morning?
Yeah. That's a good question. So it's funny with money. The less I think about it, the more I make. It's sort of like that's it, and it sounds easier than or it sounds more complicated than you think. So you got to focus on the things you're good at, and you got to define what you're not good at, and then find other people are saying, oh, I really like doing that. You're like, really? You're like, yeah, okay, that's great. Thank you. And that's how you grow. Yeah? And that's how you become really good. I'm really good at certain things. I think I'm one of the best, but I also really suck at things, like badly. Like 6 months ago, I couldn't even keep my house plant here alive, and now we're doing this glowing plant project, trying to make plants glow. I'm learning Latin names. I have no idea. The first plants all died. Everybody got really upset. Horrible. And now we figured it out. But so it's sort of focusing on what you want, and we realize that we're good at in the first one. Okay? Show that it's possible, build it, tell the story, create a team, launch it. We're quite, as a team, I think we're quite bad in making it a kilo lighter or a euro cheaper or just optimize. Other people are really good at that, right? And so we try to find those people in different countries, and sort of they adopt, they can scale up, and but we're just not good at that. And I realize my brain just doesn't work like that, and that's okay. And so we just have to move on. It took me a long time to figure that out. But if I start to micromanage or sort of go in a sort of optimization mode, it's just like your mom who wants to be your Facebook friends and start liking all your photos. It's just like okay, mom, I thank you, but I know you're proud, but let's just have a coffee. This is really embarrassing. Like this stuff. You know that feeling, right? Right message, wrong medium. Yeah. But it's important to realize that and figure that out from yourself. It can also be very confronting, right? Because we all believe we're good at everything, and of course that's not true.
Sure. I've also heard you talk about. You said that the greatest work of art is the studio itself, like not a specific project, but the studio and the way you work,
the engine.
And there's this line in the book you recommended to me, the Pixar book of creativity, that says that this guy wanted to devote himself not just to build a successful company, but a sustainable creative culture. That's no easy task, and I guess that what he was doing in a company, that's what we are trying to achieve on a more global scale. How can we be a sustainable creative culture?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good. And that's complicated. And also Pixar, which the co-founder of Pixar wrote the book Creative Inc., which I love. If you work for me, you get that book. Chapter 6 or 7, Beauty and the Beast, talks about how you have to feed the machine and the rent but there's also the baby, which is the idea. And if you only feed the beast, the baby dies, and the other way around. And it's so recognizable, and it's so funny as well. I it's sort of funny, and it also tells about making rule, breaking rule. So they were working on a movie, and suddenly all the backs up were lost, like everything, and they're like, dude, that's like 4 months of work, hundreds of people. And then one engineer raised in the crisis meeting the next day that I have a backup at home. I was like, are you crazy? That's so illegal. You're not allowed to do that. and he did it anyway. So he broke a rule, which could have got him fired, but it saved the project. And I recognize that so much. There's always the known unknown in each project. Something is going to happen. You don't know about it. And every time I have even now, I'm working on Melbourne and on Jedi. Like we're doing good, and it's okay. And I just had to call, like, okay, guys, where is it? Where is it coming? It's going too well. Where's the known unknown? And so to take that into account, and to indeed as a society embrace the known unknown, and embrace failure, and embrace experiment, and move away from the shame culture. Like, yeah, dude, no, that's the known unknown. We know it's going to come. We'll just allocate time, budget, and energy, and we'll be ready when it gets there. And we're just going to fix it. It's fine, easy. Oxygen in the brain, easy. I've always tried to make designs to save the world, right? Or to improve the world. And maybe now I'm just trying to save myself, right? And hopefully a little bit save the world, but God knows.
Yeah.
Inshallah. So you try to act, and you try to do it together. That's all you can do.
Yeah. But I think in a sense, the definition of me, of an I, of a person, of a singular entity, it's expanding to understand that we are also the world, in a sense that if you end up saving yourself with this expanded vision that we are interconnected, we are saving the world at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. And it's connected. Like I was reading yesterday about a Dutch, I have to promote my country a little bit, the Dutch scientist who basically invented the microscope. And what he did was interesting, because he could have, put anything under the microscope, but he took a drop of water, and like, why? Water was boring, and then he's like, whoa, and he saw all these cells and living, and he wrote a letter to the scientific committee. And I was checking it yesterday, and like, dude, you gotta see what I'm seeing here. This is amazing, and this is whole new world. And literally the committee wrote a letter back like, maybe you should, not touch that gin so much anymore. Like, basically, you're drunk. We don't believe you. We're sending people over to check, and they did, and of course, it worked out. So he sort of unraveled this whole world in a drop of water, like something so mundane. And I think if we have that perspective again, that we are connected, right, on a mega scale or on a micro scale, and that connection is changing, but is also feeding us and can bring us to places we've never been before. That's the way to go. Yeah. Or we just become robot food for the AI machines. That's also a scenario. Yeah.
That's also plan B. Always.
Yeah, oh man, these babies are getting smarter. I mean, like, I'm an artist, and I work with it now, and I always found it a bit blasé, people AI, and now I'm working on it, and I'm like, whoa, like we're screwed as human beings.
Yeah, I think it's the first time in the last few months, that the general public has access to all these AI things
So
on a very direct and very easy interface, which is just talking to a computer. And we're seeing this power, and you get absorbed. The first time you try it, you spend all night
sucks you up.
awake. Yeah,
It's exciting. Yeah. And at the same time, it's sort of good because the more people work on it, the more advanced it gets, the more tool. And it means that the idea and the skills you have as human beings and the creativity becomes more important. I'm having a feed with my studio team, and I can see which person of the team created which one, like how they use the prompt. And so I can still see identity.
their fingerprint.
Exactly, I can still see his or her fingerprint in it, and it's the same feed, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's him, oh yeah, that's her, and so I don't get the fairness of it. You got to play with it, you got to experiment, you got to make agreements about it. But you're right, it's one of the few moments in my life that you're like, wow, this is it's like yeah,
but you said that
scratching the surface.
You are not very afraid of them, and I think it's part of your philosophy, as you said. You're driven by curiosity, or you're driven by fear.
Yeah, but we're definitely screwed as humanity. Let me get 9 to 10 years, and like 70% of world population will be affected by. We're definitely screwed for sure. But let's sort of enjoy it in the meantime. But on a serious note, realize that our if we want to become future proof, our human skills, our desire to learn, our desire to share, our desire to challenge, our desire to change perspective, our creativity is our true capital. And so the more we invest in that as a society, as education, why do I know when Napoleon conquered Waterloo? Why do I know these things? It's crazy. And why don't I know how my brain works, or or how to collaborate, or how to develop more empathy, or or what the lifespan of a butterfly is. And so it starts with sort of embedding those values in our DNA of society, and that's how we will balance the relationship with the machines. That's the only way.
Yeah. But I in that sense, I welcome this opportunity, because yes, we are screwed, and at the same time, it's a great opportunity for us to find those human things, values, assets, whatever we think it makes us human, and really connect and develop those.
Exactly. Like if we continue in the same way, we're screwed. If we're willing to change our perspective, it's a new frontier.
Yeah.
But there's no way we're going to fix the global challenges with the existing linear way of thinking. I don't buy it, but that's just me. But so we are forced indeed to change our perspective, as we did maybe yesterday, or as we did 500 years ago. And I just hope I don't get house arrest for the rest of my life because of an idea. Yeah, like Galileo did. Yeah. That really sucks. Yeah, that really sucks. Poor guy.
Yeah, we will have that, of course. We will have censorship, and we will have all these things. But at the same time, we are much more connected and freer to share these ideas, and there's no stopping them. So at the end of the day, big institution, I think, won't be able to control everything. And that's what we're seeing with blockchain and cryptocurrency, which now it seems that everyone, institutions will be able to control. But as these things expand and democratize our access to them, there's no way that a singular entity will be able to control it.
Yeah, no, they're all part of the network thinking, and I definitely encourage that. And a lot of times when I work in teams, to be honest, I don't even know who came up with the idea in certain projects. I literally don't know. Maybe it was the senior designer, maybe it was me, maybe it was the intern. I it's just sort of like a flow of thought, and the fact that you work on it every day and you feed it, and in the beginning it always sucks, and the first prototypes look like student vomit, and it's just like, oh, this is so bad. And I'm like a very, like I feel when it's bad. So like when I see something that's bad, it's just like, oh, I can feel it in my stomach,
It
it's
hurts.
like you you just ate a like rotten fish or something, you're just like, oh. but then you start feeding it with your time and your love and your energy and many nights tuning and tweaking, and suddenly there's this moment and the magic comes in. Book. Suddenly you don't understand what you're looking at, and we're just standing there and we're just like, okay, and that was the creation of Spark. And now people look at it and they say, oh, okay, so it's like floating and light, and oh yeah, I could have done that. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but you didn't.
Yeah, really.
And I encourage you to do it, don't get me wrong, but you didn't, and so it's definitely a process. You really have to have a clear mind and a clear focus. It's not la la land. You won't be enlightened. There's no letter from God. Nobody's going to give a shit in the beginning. But if you're willing to engage, you will find it, or it will find you. And that's to be a maker, to be a creator where you make things, but the making also makes you, right? Yeah, that's for me the best.
I love it. I have two more questions for you.
Sure.
One, you managed to shut down all the lights in a city and see the stars and the Milky Way. What do you feel when you are all by yourself in the blackness of night and see that thing up there?
Well, in the beginning, I couldn't even believe they were actually doing it. Like we worked on it for 14 months, and but they did, and we're I'm standing there, and it's so intimate. It's so suddenly, if like the time slows down and you're just warped into a different dimension, and you can feel the tens of thousands of people, and everybody's silent, and some people left their light on, and people started to ring their doorbell, and they're like, hey, shut it off, and so like there was this weird but beautiful, I'm still getting goosebumps when I'm thinking about it, sense of community and doing something together, and showing, hey, we can do less and still do more, in a time of energy crisis, in a time of lack of biodiversity, we have to do less this, less that, and less is important, but less is also boring. Like, I want to do more, and we should do less, but to sort of get that sensation of, hey, we can do less together and it becomes more. I'm like, there's something in this feeling I'm getting. I want to tap into more, and that will, feed the other new ideas. But I had to be there. It was a physical experience, and we had to do it together. There's no way a digital or virtual representation could mimic that. So it changed me. It changed me as a human being, and yeah, I love that. And even the firefly, like standing there and taking out my phone and having this interaction, it changed me. And I don't really understand. I don't really want to, but I just try to absorb it, and it will pop up in a way.
Yeah,
somewhere.
But I think that's the thing. We don't have to put language and explanation to all these things. It's like seeing the stars. How can you explain something that big?
It's beyond words.
It's beyond words. So
it's beyond words, and it's beyond you, and to feel that sense of infinity and sort of meaningless, which is sort of scary and really cool at the same time. The stars makes you feel connected, looking at the stars, and with yourself, with each other, with the world around you, and to have that light sort of speeding towards you 300,000 kilometers per second. Like, that's pretty fast, right? And to sort of realize that 83% of the world population doesn't see the stars anymore, only since 25 years, because the way and so we talk about smart cities and AI and self-driving cars and sensors, and but so when did we have a meeting that we say, okay, we're gonna skip those stars? We're not doing that anymore. What? Like, when did we say yes to that? We didn't. So that's weird. Why?
Yeah.
And so it becomes sort of, I'm not talking about activist as in, I'm making a sign and for the city, we want our stars back. No, I'm more, like activator. By showing that it can be done, you trigger people, and that is what is happening now. Like, whoa, can we do that? is that possible? Should we always do that every month? Yeah.
That's what keeps you young. As long as you are activating and not just
Yeah, are we still
lamenting.
young?
Yeah, you're
Nice.
still young.
Yes.
If you're not one of those lamenters that, oh, back in the day we were able to see the stars, but rather just getting everyone out and see the stars, that's what keeps us young, I think.
I agree. Yeah, there was this beautiful conversation I had with one of my beautiful, crazy billionaire clients, and they live in their own world, and that's why I love them. And he said, like, you know, like when you wonder, time slows down. And it's like when you drive home in your car, you had no idea how you get home, right? It's sort of, and so the time slows down. So we should introduce wonder more into our lives, because it keeps us young, you know. And that sounds maybe like a sentimental story, but there is a sort of truth in that you know, keeping yourself triggered and keeping your cells activated, and yeah, it's definitely part of well-being. 100%. Yeah.
I love this. Thank you. The last question is, I've heard you, and you told me that you wanted to build a city with Pixar, co-create a city with Pixar. What are your ideas about this? How do you see that collaboration planning out?
Well, I mean, I love the movies. I love the engine. I love the process. But you know, how many movies are you going to make in your life? You know, like with all respect, with like, thank you, with the greatest respect. But you know, maybe let's jump out of that beautiful screen and start to design the real world. You know, there's this Dutch word called schoonheid, unpronounceable for non-Dutch person, but it has sort of dual meaning. It means like clean air, clean water, clean space, but it also means beauty, creativity. And so, yeah, I would love to sort of design the city schoonheid. We got to find a better word, but for now, with them, or not, and really make a space where technology is our body and helps us instead of we're just feeding it. Which triggers creativity and is good for us, because right now these machines these cities are like machines that are harming us, that are hurting us, right? And so we got to turn that around, and so to sort of place ourselves in that known unknown and challenge each other, I think that would be incredibly fascinating. Yeah, so you have my number. Yeah.
Exactly. My friend, thank you so much. Like, meeting you has been a great inspiration. You don't care too much about labels. Either you're architect, artist, innovator, whatever, and you've given me a chance and a choice for me to do the same and just release all the labels. And if I can choose one, I would choose artist, because it's the more open label that I can find. So thank you so much for showing me that that's a possibility, and for creating things that are so beautiful and nobody cares.
Nice. It was a great chat. Thanks so much for sharing.
Thank you, my friend. You have a great day, and my best to you and Bali.
Nos encantaría recibir tu retroalimentación de estos podcasts para continuar generando contenidos que te sean útiles e interesantes. Si puedes, déjanos un comentario en la página web victorsaadia.com.